And hello everybody and welcome to the Movie Pitt podcast. We have quite a show for you guys today. Hello again everybody, my name is Kristen. Like I just said, we do have a major show for you guys today. It was a packed week of news, so packed that I've had to cut down stuff because I'd be here for like 3 hours talking about all the movie news, and that's not what I want to do. So let's get right into it because there was like I said, a crap ton of movie news to get to, so let's move right into it. Let's talk about, of course, the first news items that came out last week after the podcast went up. The first movie news item is the Lego Movie sequel gets a new director. The Lego Batman movie, of course, comes out this week. We'll talk about that later in the This Week's Releases segment of the podcast. But Warner Brothers Animation is looking forward to the Lego Movie sequel, which... that's what it's called. It's called the Lego Movie sequel. The film will have a new director in Mike Mitchell, who just directed Trolls last year. Mitchell's pick sounds like a good idea out loud, considering that Trolls was, of course, a pretty big hit, and the reviews were pretty positive on that. But his record on paper doesn't look all that good, especially considering that he is directing a sequel to a very popular animated film. Mitchell has directed films like Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Chipwrecked, I feel stupid even saying that out loud, Surviving Christmas, Shrek Forever After, and the live-action sequences in the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. And his best film, and one of my favorite films, is Sky High, which I am still a fan of. So nothing against Mitchell. Personally, he does have some major shoes to fill, however, when it comes to directing the Lego Movie sequel, because of course Phil Lord and Chris Miller directed the first one. They will stay on as producers, but that's some pretty big shoes to fill there. So the Lego Movie sequel will open on February 8th, 2019. Probably hearing a few stuff by the end of the year, I suppose, on that. Corin Hardy is set to direct the Conjuring spin-off film, The Nun. Now, New Line Cinema has found a director for their second The Conjuring spin-off film, The Nun, in Corin Hardy. The film is based off the demonic nun that came to life to haunt Lorraine Lauren, played by Vera Farmiga, in The Conjuring 2. Now, it's interesting because unlike the Annabelle doll from the first film, The Nun was actually a last-minute creation by director James Wan during the reshoots for the film. So she's not even, it was like a last-minute thing. It wasn't like, oh, this is someone that the Warrens have dealt with for a while. No, it was a last-minute creation. The creation for the film was pretty much laid out, and everything that the demon dressed as a nun had to do was already played out in The Conjuring 2. So that's why this film seems a little not really worth it. They probably could have gone some other routes, but nonetheless, they are doing it. And James Wan is actually co-writing the film with Gary Dauberman, who I believe worked on some of the other, worked on Annabelle or in Conjuring, one of the two. But they're working on the script right now. And as for Hardy, he's directed another horror film called The Hollow, which put him on the map for a lot of people, although there's some mixed reaction to that film. But most of it seems to be positive, at least from the horror community. From what I've seen, I didn't fully delve into it because when this news item broke, it was late at night, and the nun still scares the crap out of me. But Harding was attached to direct the Crow remake, and he was attached for a while. He's attached since 2014, and when everything started happening, like it wasn't going to happen, and now it is happening, and now it's not happening, or whatever. It looks like Hardy, I should say, is finally moving on from it, because he signed on to do another film called Hellbent, which sounds awesome. It's about a group of mercenaries who are murdered, and they get literally go into hell with a priest to kill Satan. It sounds really crazy, but it could be good. But nonetheless, this is the second spin-off from the Conjuring films. They are doing a sequel to Annabelle, which is set farther into the past, I believe. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The Nun, for whatever it is, the Nun in The Conjuring 2 was very creepy to stare at, and the scene when she literally runs with the painting of herself is still one of the scariest moments in horror for me. So the film currently does not have a release date, or a start date, I should say. I believe they gave it a release date. I didn't put it down, but I think it's a release date for next year. So they have a director. If they start shooting late this year, they could probably release it sometime next year in the later half. So we'll see. And the final news item that dropped last week after the podcast went up is that Michael Bay is finally leaving the Transformers franchise.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Or is he? We don't know, because he said that before. So Michael Bay wrote this letter, or post I should say, about leaving the Transformers franchise. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read pieces of it. So he says, I've been living in this franchise for over 10 years now. For Transformers, the last night we put together a writer's room designed to greatly expand our mythology, integrating our films in a whole new way. Every movie will interlink. It was a huge task to expand mythology from the beginning of the world throughout history. Through the summer of 2015, they worked in a huge space on the Paramount lot, surrounded over 10,000 concept images from the franchise's history, the movies, cartoons, and comic books. They had a life-size Bumblebee, a Megatron head, and many other props staring them down. We pulled from everything. It was a fan's dream room. We brought in Transformers historians from Hasbro to educate them on where Transformers has been, so that they could figure out where to go. I can safely say there's never been a Transformers film with a huge visual scope and expansive mythology as this film, The Last Night. It's bittersweet for me. Every Transformers film I've said it would be the last. I've seen the 120 million fans around the world who see these movies. It's a huge the huge theme park lines to the ride, and the amazing Make-A-Wish kids who visit my sets, and it somehow keeps drawing me back. I love doing these movies. This film was especially fun to shoot, but this time might really be it. So I'm blowing this one out. It's the final chapter and a new beginning. So, I say again because Michael Bay was going to leave after the third film, and he decided to come back and direct the fourth film. And I don't know if there was reports after the fourth film that he was like, no, I'm out this time, and then he came back to do this one. So I don't know if we should take this seriously. I mean, it's just, look, I've been wanting Bay to leave the Transformers franchise for a while now. I thought after part 3, I was like, okay, you're gonna hand off the reins to someone else. Someone else can come in and, I'm not saying reboot, but put their own fingerprint back on it. And that wasn't possible. I mean, look, the first one for me, the first Transformers movie, not the animated one from the 80s. I'm talking about the first one that he did. It was passable. It was a thoroughly enjoyable Transformers movie when I saw it. And now I go back and watch. I'm like, oh, what happened? The second movie wasn't that great. And part 3, even though I love parts of part 3 because it was filmed here in Chicago, living outside the city myself, I can, it was nice to see. It was nice to see that Chicago was, a very big, predominant plot point. Even then, it felt like it was too long. But the film itself was just meh. It wasn't. And I'm not on the Bay hate bandwagon. I'm not. I love his early stuff. I love Bad Boys and I love The Rock. The Rock is probably one of my favorite films of all time. If you haven't seen The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage and Ed Harris, I highly recommend you do. That is my recommendation for the week. If you have any time this weekend or sometime before the podcast next week or whenever, watch The Rock with Nicolas Cage, Sean Connery, and Ed Harris. It is quintessentially a 90s action movie, but it takes itself seriously in the way that it's not overdoing it. It's a good movie. It is. There's problems with it, but it's a good movie. And of course, the first Bad Boys, I think a lot of people like the first Bad Boys movie. Bad Boys 2, not so much. For me, anyway. But Anyway, I'm not, I'm not a hater of Michael Bay. I get the whole, Bay explosions thing and whatever. But, for me personally, I kind of wish that he had left so I can give someone else a chance and maybe, turn the ship around a little bit. Not make it, so, CGI heavy. I mean, I get it. They're Transformers. I get it. You're not going to build real Transformers, but still, I don't know. I don't know if it's too late or, these movies make money. I'm not going to say, oh, these movies suck. I mean, they suck, but they make a lot of money. But whatever. Let's see if this is actually the case, and we'll find out, of course, afterwards. And speaking of Transformers last night, we might as well dive into trailer talk earlier in this podcast because, of course, the Super Bowl happened this past Sunday. Fuck you, Patriots. But there was some trailers, of course, that dropped. We talked about it last week on the podcast about what trailers could drop, and we knew that the Transformers The Last Night trailer was going to drop, or TV spot, I should say, was going to drop. And it did, and it looked, and they released an extended version online, and even then it was,
Optimus Prime. Do you seek redemption?
My maker, I do.
I mean, it doesn't look any more different than what, any other Transformers movie, except for the fact that it has time travel for some reason, and there's King Arthur's court and Nazis. Although now it seems okay that we can punch a Nazi in the face. It's just, I don't know. I've given up on Transformers. I'm not going to be fooled by. I mean, look, say what we want about the Transformers series, the film series, I should say. The trailers for the films are pretty good, and we're not gonna lie, they're pretty good. But we go in and we watch the movies, and we're like, no, they suck. But but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I'm gonna go watch it. I am. I'm either gonna be dragged to go watch it, or I'm just gonna be like, all right, fuck it, I'm just gonna go watch it. So the trailer was released and it looks okay. So there was a few other, of course, Super Bowl spots that came out. A Cure for Wellness released 2 spots actually. One during, I believe, before kickoff, and one during the game. And the Cure for Wellness comes out next week, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about more about that next week. And it looked pretty. I mean, the Cure for Wellness still looks really good. It looks really creepy, and I think some of the early reviews are saying that it's pretty good. There was a new Super Bowl spot and full trailer they released for Life, the film with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds and Rebecca Ferguson in space. Everyone basically saying it's alien-esque in space. And the full trailer, I haven't actually seen I forgot they released a full trailer. I just saw the Super Bowl spot, and it still looks pretty good. It looks pretty creepy. I mean, hopefully it turns out, everyone's gonna make the alien comparison. I feel like that's unfortunately something that everyone's gonna make anytime there's a space movie with something chasing people down. It's just gonna be compared to Alien, which is kind of unfair, but whatever. Another spot that came out was Ghost in the Shell. It was pretty much stuff that we had seen from the trailer before. There is a new trailer coming out next week, so we'll be talking about that next week as well. But as for the spot, there was a few new spots. There was a few new spots and scenes that we haven't seen before. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen the original yet. I'm planning on seeing the original before I watch the film, and I have time. It comes out next month, but I have time. So we'll see what happens with that. I'll probably be doing a review with someone for that movie. That's something to look forward to in the future. They released Logan, a new Logan spot with Amazing Grace playing in the background. That was pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty much scenes that we had seen before. They did release another TV spot, which I don't know if they released it before, like online, but they released it during the game. It looked really good. There were some new spots. We got to see Caliban, played by Stephen Merchant in the film. We got to see a few more kids, which is leading to some very interesting theories online. So we'll see what the thing about that is. Speaking about Logan, this is actually a news item that came out. Logan, the runtime has been released for Logan. It's going to be I think it was 2.5 hours. Yeah, 2.5 hours long. Logan's going to be 2.5 hours long. So there you go. Forward to that. They released a new TV spot for Baywatch, which I'm still going to go watch. It still looks pretty funny. I mean, I'm not going to go in there being like, oh, I'm seeing educated Baywatch. No, Baywatch didn't take itself seriously back then. Anyone that complains about like how everyone's jumping on the old 21 Jump Street like, comedy. Calm down. Because first of all, Baywatch did not take it. Baywatch was pre-internet, so if there was internet back then, everyone would be saying how cheesy Baywatch was. Let's admit that. This new one knows exactly what it is, and I'm gonna go watch it.
Ready to do this? Hell yeah. Whoa, what are you wearing? Freedom. That's desecration.
A new spot for The Fate of the Furious came out. Of course, the new Fast and Furious film. Got to see a few new shots in there. We got to see, of course, there was a crazy shot of a bunch of cars flying off building for some reason. Who knows? It looked awesome. These movies are ridiculously awesome now. They're ridiculously dumb, fun, awesome. And anyone that's like, oh, that can't happen. Of course it can't happen. Settle down. You can go enjoy your Transformers. I'm going to go enjoy my Fast and the Furious movies.
If you're gonna catch Dom, you're gonna need a little help.
You want to tell me why you just put me in a room with this criminal?
You know, I think that tight t-shirt's cutting off the circulation in your brain. You should get a bigger size.
You guys are gonna work together.
Love to.
The next TV spot that was released during the Super Bowl, which of course got an extended version, was Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales, which looks way better than I thought it was going to look. Like, I was down. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm actually looking forward to a new Pirates of the Caribbean film. I haven't said that in a long time. Okay, that first teaser that was released, what was it, like earlier this year or late last year? That was just basically showcased Javier Bardem's character in Captain Salazar. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really effective. I thought it was like going back to like the very first one in a lot of ways. And this new Super Bowl spot, or I'm actually talking about the extended version anyway. It looks really cool. It does. It looks it looks like it's going back to the first one. It's not taking itself too serious. And also, there's not a lot of Jack Sparrow in this, even in the extended spot. It's basically the spot that he has in the original, where he's all like covered in mud and he's like a pirate's life, and then he drinks. Of course, he drinks, and that's it. That's all. Even in the extended spot, that's all we see of him. So I'm kind of liking the fact that obviously he's going to be a big factor in the movie. It's not like Transformers: The Last Night, where like, oh, Optimus Prime is gone and he's everywhere in the teasers. It's like, no, he's gone. We don't know where he is. No, he's right there. We know exactly where he is. But for Pirates of the Caribbean, they're not really focusing. I mean, I'm pretty sure the next trailer they release, because I'm pretty sure they're going to release another trailer soon, they're going to focus on Jack Sparrow. But so far, what they've been doing about, focusing kind of on Captain Salazar and his crew. There's a really cool shot when they're walking on top of water because they're ghosts. I think it looks pretty good. I didn't think I'd say that, but I think it looks pretty good. And also, just because Logan did a Johnny Cash song, doesn't mean that everyone gets to do one, because they used, of course, a Johnny Cash song in this. And it seems like they were just like, they were like, oh yeah, Logan did it, we're going to do it too. No. And of course, the last Super Bowl spot, which ended up releasing an extended version online, was Guardians of the Galaxy.
What's that?
He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy. Only he didn't use frickin'.
Look out!
Oh, wow. I tried, guys.
This looks awesome. It looks so good. It looks like they're basically just upping the ante in a lot of ways, and the humor is still there. The humor is top notch. I loved it. I loved this spot, and I love the extended version. It's just so good. I cannot wait for this movie. May cannot come here fast enough. I want this movie now. So yeah. So those are Super Bowl. All the links, of course, as always, the links will be down below in the trailers, or down below in the description / show notes area in the trailer section down below. Since we're talking about trailers, I guess we might as well just talk about the trailers that came out this week. So there was a new trailer for. Gonna go down my outline for this. Sorry about that. Okay. There was a new trailer for the Amy Schumer-led comedy Snatched. It looks okay. I mean, it doesn't look. I mean, it looks. I'm not the biggest Amy Schumer fan out there. Like, I there are moments where I think she's really funny, and then there's moments where I don't think she's funny. But as for the movie itself, I don't know. It's not really doing too much for me. So there was that. There was a teaser trailer for the new Sofia Coppola film called The Beguiled, and it it's really like there's something about this teaser that I had to watch multiple times, and that's something I don't usually do unless it's like really cool, unless it's like really awesome. But for like these like small like little teasers, I went back and I watched it a few times, and it's just there's so much packed in this little teaser that it just, I don't know if it starts making sense and you don't really know what's going on. And then, this is actually a remake of I believe it was a early 90s maybe film. I'm actually not sure. And I believe it's based off a book. I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong. But it's got like Nicole Kidman's in there, Colin Farrell's in there, Elle Fanning's in there. I think there's like Kristen Dunst is another one. I think there's like 2 other big names in there, or well-known names, I should say. But it looks interesting. It does. It looks really interesting. And Sofia Coppola isn't one of those directors that's very hit and miss for me. But I think it could be interesting. And do yourself a favor and go watch the teaser trailer for that. And there was another moody, atmospheric trailer that came out this week, which is from A24, which is on a roll right now. For their horror mystery, It Comes at Night. And it's Joe Edgerton, and who's the other person? I forgot. Riley Keough is in there. It looks really, this trailer looks really eerie and atmospheric, and a lot of the shots don't make too much sense. You don't really know what's going on, so I'm really looking forward to this. Just because of Joe Edgerton and A24, they've done a great job of everything they've done so far. And their first horror film, I think it was their first horror film, The Witch, very atmospheric. It doesn't have the same feel. Obviously, it's 2 different directors, but they're kind of going with that, you don't really know what's going on feel for these trailers, which is, I think, is really cool. So It Comes at Nights. And another trailer that came out this week was a the trailer for the young adult novel adaptation. I can't talk anymore. The Circle stars Emma Watson and an evil Tom Hanks, which I think is kind of cool because I don't think we've ever really seen an evil Tom Hanks. It looks so. I read a headline. It's like the timely release of this trailer because it deals with this girl played by Emma Watson. I believe her name is May in the film and in the book. She goes to work for this company called The Circle, which is apparently a place where you live your life through complete transparency. So people will follow you, and they know you're having a bad day, or they know you're having a good day, and it's so. It feels kind of like a Black Mirror episode a little bit. But I don't know. It's based off a book by I believe his name is Dave Eggers, and the book's been from what I've seen, the book has gotten some pretty decent reviews. So we'll see what happens with that. And the final trailer that was released this week, I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing this in front of the Lego Batman film, was the Lego Ninjago movie. This trailer, I thought really worked. I did. I think that Lego is creating kind of their own universe, which is awesome. Because the Lego movie was great. The Lego Batman movie's been getting nothing but great reviews, and everyone's saying it's awesome. And I can't wait. After seeing this trailer, I thought, you know what? Yeah, let's just do a Lego universe. Why not?
You ready for me to conquer Ninjago?
Oh, I'll be waiting. Dad.
Sorry? What was that last thing you said?
What?
That last part, I didn't catch it.
Well, I didn't say anything. What do you mean? I said I'll be waiting, and then I stopped talking.
Dad.
Lloyd?
That's right. Your son. And it's Lloyd.
No. Lloyd. I named you.
You ruined my life.
That's not true. I haven't even been a part of your life. How could I ruin it? I wasn't even there.
So I wasn't really looking forward to this too much, but now that I've seen the trailer, I kind of am, and some of the jokes kind of fell flat, but some of them worked really well. So I'm gonna go watch this. So once again, all the links to the trailers, Super Bowl, and the trailers that came out this week will be down below. If of course anything drops, I'll put it down there as well, or on the Facebook page. So, and speaking of the Facebook page, like I mentioned, there is a ton of movie news that came out this week. So not all the movie news that came out this week, of course, made it to the podcast. You can go check out the Facebook page for that. And and of course, stuff drops all the time after the podcast. So be on the lookout for that. It was a very big week in movie news this week. I can't believe how huge it was. I think they were just trying to cover up some stuff, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that dropped this week. So do yourself a favor. If you want to go check out some of the more news items that came out this week, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/moviepit. Put a link down below in the description/show notes area. And also, while you're down there, you might as well check out the WordPress account. Well, I'll just do some shameful plugs right now. WordPress account is, of course, where you can see my reviews and some. I'm really gonna start doing some editorials and opinion pieces on there, so you can go check that out. That is movieswithchris.wordpress.com. Movieswithchris.wordpress.com. Link will be down below as well. Also, right down there, there's timestamps. So if you want to really hear one specific news item again, you can go down there. And this is why I'm saying it, because this next news item is spoilers. And I don't like really doing spoilers on the podcast. However, I do want to talk about this because it seems really cool and it seems really awesome. And I'm kind of nerding out right now. And I feel like people probably want to hear about it. So if you don't want to hear about it, click on the timestamps down below and you don't have to worry about it. This is your spoiler warning. I don't like doing spoilers on the podcast, but I have to for this one. So if you haven't seen Split yet, first of all, you should go watch Split. It's great. But if you have not seen Split yet, use the timestamps down below to skip this news item if you don't want to be spoiled. You know what? No, if you haven't seen Split, this news item is not for you. Just go down to the timestamps area and go listen to one of the other news items, because the twist in Split works a hell of a lot better when you experience the whole movie. All right. Are they gone? Everyone gone? Okay. So, Split surprised everyone with that last-minute Shyamalan twist that, of course, showed that Split was actually set in the same universe as one of his earlier films, Unbreakable. Of course, Bruce Willis showed up at the end, and it seemed, it surprised me in the theater. It surprised me because I was like, what's Bruce Willis doing here? And then, of course, he mentioned Mr. Glass, which is the supervillain character name of Samuel L. Jackson in Unbreakable. So it seems pretty cool, and it seems like they're doing like a, Bruce Willis' character in Unbreakable, David Dunn, which was his name, will face off against James McAvoy's supervillain character, the Horde. That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty cool. So Shyamalan went on Twitter and he said that he wrote an 11-page outline for his next film. And at the end of that tweet, he really implied that his next movie was going to be a sequel to Split, which essentially might be a sequel to Split and also a sequel to Unbreakable. Shyamalan went on to say that Split 2 needs to find a right story and not just be a sequel to Split or even Unbreakable, saying, if Unbreakable was about this one person who survives a train wreck, everyone dies and he doesn't have a scratch on him, how is that possible? That's a high concept, really cool story. And then, this one, it's talking about Split, is 3 girls get abducted by a person that has his disorder that he believes he's many people. And all the different personalities are saying there's another personality coming to get them. It's called the Beast. That in of itself is a really cool thing. This third movie needs to have its own idea. The high concept of that final movie can't be, it's the final Unbreakable. There has to be something about that makes it its own movie. That's when I'll be happiest, is when it's its own movie in a way it could be watched by itself. Which is a really good way to go, because, Split, we didn't know it was set in the same, there was like little hints in there kind of when you go back and think about it and go watch it again, that kind of make it feel like, hey, maybe it is set during Unbreakable. But you don't really know until the very end. So that was kind of interesting. Also, there was, it's its own movie. It's kind of its own little origin supervillain story, because you're following this character. So now he's out there, and now Bruce Willis's David Dunn knows he's out there, so he's gonna go track him down. So it should be interesting to kind of see where that goes. And he did mention that the original script for Split did have more Unbreakable references, so you were gonna know like it was gonna happen, because apparently he said like there was gonna be like an explosion in the background, and he didn't know what was really going on and stuff like that. So it should be interesting to kind of see where that goes. He finally said, Shyamalan, that McAvoy, Willis, and Samuel L. Jackson will all star in the Split sequel, even saying that Jackson's reaction when he told them about Split, that he was going to do another one, he's going to combine the two movies, that Samuel L. Jackson was very interested. And he's been saying that, quote, I've been dying to play Mr. Glass. I keep telling you every time I see you, end quote. So that should be interesting to kind of see all the characters kind of converge into one film. It should be cool. I don't know. It's very nerdy, I don't know. It should be cool. Should be cool. Hopefully it's cool. All right, so let's move on to the next news item, shall we? The Coen brothers will do a polish for the script of the Scarface reimagining. We talked about the Scarface movie, I believe, last week on the podcast, that Anton Fuqua has dropped out of the director's chair, and that it was untimely because Diego Luna from Rogue One: A Star Wars Story had just recently joined the film as the lead role. So now the film, the report, I should say, I'm a little disorganized now. The report says that, this report comes from Variety, by the way, that the Coen brothers will do a polish for the script, although there's no signs of them directing, even though that report from Variety says that there is that the studio is looking at a few candidates to direct, and they'll probably be announcing something soon. Maybe they'll get the Coen brothers to direct it. I don't know, but they are doing a polish for the script. The film also now has a release date of August 10th, 2018. So that's the new release. I think that's the first release date. I don't think they put a release date on it before. I could be wrong, but they did date it for August 10th. So this is pretty cool. The Coen brothers are doing a polish for the script. It should be interesting to see kind of where this goes. But yeah, this is pretty decent, awesome news. So Jack Nicholson is returning to film with a remake of the hit German film Toni Erdmann, and will also star Kristen Wiig. So it's hard to believe, actually, that it has been 7 years. Yes, 7 years since we've seen Jack Nicholson on the big screen, and that movie was How Do You Know, which was a comedy with Owen Wilson, Paul Rudd, and Reese Witherspoon, which I completely forgot about. However, it looks like he's finally struck a chord, or a film has finally struck a chord with him, as he will star in the remake of the hit German comedy Toni Erdmann. The film is nominated, I should say, for the best foreign film in the Oscars this year, and the film centers on a father who surprises his workaholic daughter with an extended visit and assumes the persona of his alter ego, the name of the film, a costume, smooth-talking life coach with a goofy wig and fake teeth. The report from Variety says that Nicholson enjoyed the film so much, he went to Paramount Pictures with the idea for the remake, and they immediately went to work to get the rights. And at the moment, there is no director, but Anna McKay will produce the film along with Will Ferrell and Jessica Elbaum from the production banner Gloria Sanchez Productions. And the original director of the film, Marin Adel, will be an executive producer on the remake. And like I mentioned, Kristen Wiig will star in the film as Nicholson's overworked daughter. Of course, he will play the father character. There's no word yet on when the production will start, but there you go. Jack Nicholson back on the big screen. We'll see how it works. I don't know. He hasn't acted in a while. We'll see. The young Han Solo film is a star for a key CGI role. The young Han Solo film is currently filming, by the way, and almost to really no surprise, we don't know anything about it. Because, Lucasfilm doesn't want us to know stuff. What we do know is that it will be directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who of course directed the Lego Movie and the Jump Street films. Alden Ehrenreich will play Han Solo. Donald Glover will play Lando Calrissian. Woody Harrelson will play Han Solo's mentor in the film, and Emilia Clarke, her role is still being kept secret. We don't know what's going on with her. But now it looks like the cast will be getting bigger, as Variety reports that creator of Fleabag and star of the Amazon, it's an Amazon TV show, by the way, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is in talks to join the film in a key CGI role and will be a significant member of the ensemble the film is putting together. Phoebe Waller-Bridge became a big name, of course, like I just mentioned, with her hit Amazon series Fleabag, which earned critical acclaim and picked up 2 Critics' Choice Award nominations, one for Best Comedy Series and one for Best Actress in a Comedy Series. Waller-Bridge also appeared in other projects like The Iron Lady, Albert Nobbs, and the original British series Broadchurch, which was remade here in America. I believe it was called Grace Point. Again, we don't know anything about the film, so we don't know what's going to go on. We have to rely on small tidbits. It was back in October that Oscar nominee cinematographer Bradford Young, who was, of course, doing the cinematography for the young Han Solo film, said it will be a quote, dirty sci-fi film, and it will be dramatic. So it should be interesting to kind of see where that plays out. Of course, the film is currently filming. Hopefully, we find out more stuff going on in the film, because the film is, or does, I should say, have a release date for May 25th, 2018. Bad Boys 3 is delayed again, but it gets a better release date, at least. So Sony Pictures has delayed the release of Bad Boys 3, which is called Bad Boys for Life, but they are moving the Bad Boys film to later in the year. So Bad Boys for Life was originally set to come out on January 12th of 2018, but will now be released later in the year on November 9th of 2018. Now, even though they're releasing it the same year, at least it's not coming out in January, which has of course been known as the dump month for Hollywood. Although January is not necessarily becoming a dump month anymore, because there's some pretty successful films coming out in January now. So the Bad Boys never really seemed like a January movie. It always seemed like probably more like a summer movie. But if they're gonna make it come out in January, or not January, in November, I'm okay with that. So Bad Boys for Life will of course bring back Will Smith and Martin Lawrence to reprise their roles, and Joe Carnahan will write and direct the film. Other than that, we don't know anything about the film. However, if the new November date sticks, we'll probably be hearing more things by the end of the year. This also puts Bad Boys 4, because they announced a release date for Bad Boys 4, even before they started filming Bad Boys 3, has now been taken off the schedule because they don't know what's going to happen with that. So, by the way, Bad Boys 3 is not the only movie that has been delayed. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, we're going to talk about Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is doing a Jay and Silent Bob sequel. That's right, boys and girls. Kevin Smith is doing a sequel to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
The buzz is any indicator, that movie's gonna make some huge bank.
What buzz?
The internet buzz.
What the fuck is the internet?
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another. Here's what we're looking for, moviepoopshoot.com.
Poop shoot. Yeah.
This is a site populated by militant movie buffs, sad, pathetic little bastards living in their parents' basement, downloading scripts and what they think is inside information about movies and actors they claim to despise yet can't stop discussing.
Originally, Smith was going to direct Clerks 3, but one of the 4 leads apparently backed out, and the film is now on the back burner. Then he wanted to do a Mallrats sequel, but then it became a TV series, and apparently he took it to 6 different networks, and they all turned it down. So now he's moving forward with Jay and Silent Bob. Smith wrote this post in which he called Jay and Silent Bob, the film will be called Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Which, when you hear this little post that he did, it will make more sense. Saying, quote, "All last month I had the time of my life laughing while writing Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, on Fun Flick, with the Jersey Boys having to go back to Hollywood to stop a brand new reboot of the old Blunt Man and Chronic movie. They hate it so much. It's a tongue-in-cheek, silly-ass satire that pokes fun at the movie business's recent redo obsession. Featuring an all-star cast of cameos and familiar faces. I've already met with the good folks at Miramax, and they're into it, so I'm hoping we'll be shooting in the summer." So, look, Jay and Silent Bob is probably one of my favorite comedies of all time. It is so ridiculous, but it's so funny at the same time. If you haven't seen Jay and Silent Bob, that is my second recommendation for you guys this week. Jay and Silent Bob. Go watch it. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's overly ridiculous. It's inappropriate at times, but it's funny. It's in the 90s, so not in the 90s. I think it was early 2000s. But you know, there are some things that are dated, but it's still very, very funny. Of course, Smith has been doing some films that haven't been met with a lot of fanfare, like Tusk and Yoga Hosers. But he is doing a tremendous job directing the CW shows like Supergirl and The Flash. His episodes are just damn good because he's a nerd. So hopefully we'll be talking about this more in the future. I'm a huge fan of it, and I can't wait to see what he does with that. Let's move on to the next news item, which Paramount has pulled World War Z 2 from its schedule and cancels the Friday the 13th movie. So Paramount Pictures has pulled one of their big films from their schedule. World War Z was pulled, even though it had a release date for this year on June 9th, even though we've heard nothing from the film. So that came as really no surprise. So World War Z has been, again, it's been pretty much non-existent in the news cycle. It lost its director in J.A. Bonilla, who went on to direct, or was going on to direct Jurassic World 2, which I believe is actually filming at the moment. I could be wrong about that. Actually, no, because he released a picture, and I think he said that they started filming. So Jurassic World 2 is currently filming. So they lost him, and the last thing we heard was that Brad Pitt was looking to reunite with David Fincher to direct the film, which everyone was like, oh yeah, this is awesome, go ahead and do it. But nothing ever came from it. So, again, that's not too surprising they released it. But the reports did say that they are moving it and possibly looking at a 2018 or 2019 release. So, again, you have David Fincher, who reportedly is actually very interested in directing the film. So I don't know why you would be like, whatever. We don't want to do that. Like, why? Why would you not want to do it? He's really interested in doing it. Why would you not want to do it? That is an actual news item. David Fincher is actually very interested in directing World War Z 2, but Paramount is like, we're not going to greenlight it yet. You have one of the best directors in Hollywood, and you don't want him to direct your movie? Like, really? That doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you what else doesn't make any sense. The fact that they canceled Friday the 13th. I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense. So, originally, they had released it, they had removed it from the schedule. And then, literally, a few hours later, they were like, nope, canceled. We're done. We're not doing it anymore. It's a bit irritating because it had a script by Aaron Guzikowski. I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but he's the writer for Prisoners. And it had director Brett Eisner, who directed the underappreciated, at least in my eyes, remake of The Crazies, and the very subpar The Last Witch Hunter. And reports said that the film was going to focus maybe on his father, on Jason's childhood, so they were going to finally introduce his father to the films. And they toyed around with the found footage idea, but they quickly shot that down. Like, yeah, we're not doing that. But the exact reason is unclear. And it was later said that sources said that executives began second-guessing Friday the 13th after potentially the low box office numbers of Rings, which is not good, by the way, bought in, and because they thought the film would bring in the same crowd, which I think is a really dumb idea, because I don't think people that are going to go watch Rings are the same people that are going to go watch a Friday the 13th movie. I mean, the horror audiences probably, they're going to go watch it, but when you take away the horror audiences, the same people that are going to go watch Friday the 13th are probably not the same people that are going to go watch Rings. A, because Rings was terrible, and B, Friday the 13th is Friday the 13th. It's Jason Voorhees. We're gonna go watch him kill people. So another source later said that the film was not even ready to go by that date. They were going to start filming in March with no cast, apparently, even though they didn't have a cast. They were going to start filming. This doesn't make any sense. So there was that. And here's the thing that bugs me about Friday the 13th, because Paramount did a deal with, I believe it was Warner Brothers, to get the rights. And this was back in 2013. So Paramount wanted the rights to Friday the 13th, and they gave Warner Brothers Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I think it was Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. So they gave them that film. And in return, they got the rights to Friday the 13th from Warner Brothers so they can make their film. And they've done nothing with it. There's been reports like, hey, we're going to start doing this. Oh, it's been pushed back. Friday the 13th. It finally got a release date this year, a locked down release date, which made perfect sense, of October 13th. Friday the 13th. You're going to release a Friday the 13th movie on Friday the 13th in October. That's perfect. How could you mess that up? Guess what? Paramount found a way. How can you not do a Friday the 13th movie? It's not like, oh, we need an awesome plot. No. You know what people at Friday the 13th want? They want a Jason Voorhees movie where he's killing people and he's killing dumbass teenagers to make stupid ass decisions. That's it. Make some creative kills and we're all good. But no, you can't even do that. It doesn't make no sense. It makes no sense. Literally makes no sense. So there's that. And going back, I guess, a little bit, so there's that's the end of that news item. It kind of irritated me a little bit. They can't make a Friday the 13th movie, really? You can't, whatever. But going back to World War Z a little bit, now that the film has been delayed, Brad Pitt gets the opportunity to go work on some other films, and one of those films may be a sci-fi film called Ad Astra. The film will be directed by James Gray, or James Gary, I should say. He directed The Immigrant and the upcoming film The Lost City of Z, which Brad Pitt was originally going to star in before he dropped out, and they brought in Charlie Hunnam. But the film revolves around a slightly autistic engineer whose father left 20 years ago on a one-way mission to Neptune in order to find signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. I don't know why I couldn't say that word. As an adult, he sets out to travel the solar system to find his father and discover why the mission failed. So there you go. Even after my mistake. Gray has co-wrote the film, and he will direct the film. And if everything goes right, they'll probably start shooting this summer, which is, of course, probably around the time that maybe they wanted to start filming World War Z. I don't know. So it could be interesting to see. It could be also interesting to see Brad Pitt in a full-fledged sci-fi space movie, because he hasn't really done a space sci-fi film. I mean, you can say that Curious Case Benjamin Button has some sci-fi elements, because obviously he's aging differently, but this is him doing like a full-fledged space sci-fi movie, which seems pretty cool. Alright, so let's go to another horror franchise, Halloween. The new Halloween movie, guess what, has found a director and a writer and gets a release date. So, it was back in May. I had to look this up because I forgot. It was back all the way in May last year, where it was announced that Blumhouse Productions was working with Miramax and John Carpenter to develop a new Halloween film. And the film has been pretty quiet since then. We haven't really had anything. There's been small tidbits, like, yeah, we're still doing it, but nothing really substantial or groundbreaking to report on. And I didn't forget about it, but I was like, oh yeah, they're doing another Halloween movie. I know that, but there hasn't been anything about it. And that wasn't until this week, because in some very interesting and what the hell's going on news, they have hired a director, David Gordon Green, who will team up with Danny McBride, yes, that Danny McBride, to write the script. And they have a release date of October 19th, 2018. So there's no reports on what the take is just yet, and no one knows what's going on. But apparently, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride went to Jason Blum, who is the head of Blumhouse Productions. I'm blanking now. John Carpenter and someone else. I'm assuming someone from Miramax. They all went to them and they pitched their idea, and apparently they loved it. They loved the pitch. They loved the idea, and they just gave them the job right on the spot, apparently. So yeah, we have a new director and new writer, and also John Carpenter wrote something on his Facebook that he would probably do music for the new movie. That's not confirmed. He just said that he may be doing it. He may not be doing it. So David Gordon Green and Danny McBride probably aren't the first names you go to for a potential Halloween film. I know they weren't the first names that I went to, but apparently they again the pitch was really good. So, but Green does have a tendency of switching up genres. He most recently directed he's directed comedy films like Pineapple Express, Your Highness, The Sitter, and he's done stuff with Danny McBride on the TV series Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals. And he's most recently he directed it was a comedy, but they had drama moments in the Sandra Bullock-led comedy drama Our Brand Is Crisis. But he's also done a full-fledged drama in the Nicolas Cage-led Joe, which surprised everyone when it came out because they're like, hey, Nicolas Cage can still act. Yeah, again, they're not the first names that you would think about, but I mean, if their pitch was good, I mean, I guess we have to kind of trust Carpenter and Blumhouse, and I trust them because Blumhouse Productions has done a really great job of producing and distributing these movies who, have a very low budget, which Halloween doesn't need a huge budget. So a Halloween movie coming out from Blumhouse it makes a lot of sense because again, it doesn't need a very high budget. If I think a low budget will probably work hell of a lot more better for Halloween anyway. And the first Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, was done for cheap. I mean, it was done as John Carpenter did Halloween. Well, Blumhouse is probably gonna do for Halloween when he did it back in the day. So Blumhouse is a great place for them to do it. The fact that John Carpenter is a part of the film, he's an executive producer and a consultant on the film, should be really cool. So I mean, look, I'll admit, even though I'm really looking forward to, I've been looking forward to the new Halloween since it was announced, but I'm a little worried because it is David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, and maybe Halloween would have been better if you in the hands of a someone who actually knows horror. Maybe I was thinking like maybe David F. Sandberg, who directed Lights Out, maybe even Fede Alvarez. I mean, he's hot right now. I don't know, maybe he wanted to do a Halloween movie, but he did a really good job with Evil Dead. So maybe he can do a really good job with Halloween. But I'm gonna give David Gordon Green, Dan McBride the chance. Again, not two names I would think about, but we'll see what happens. They got a release date, so we'll probably be hearing a lot more from this movie sooner rather than later. So I'm excited for it. All right, so let's move on to our last news item of the day, which, no surprise, is about the DC Extended Universe. All right, the Batman movie. This part doesn't bother me. It's getting a likely 2019 release date. That part doesn't bother me. What does bother me is that the Batman is getting a new script.
Okay.
Son of a bitch.
Okay. Now, I can't now. I can't. I literally can't. So last week, we talked about how Ben Affleck had dropped out of the director's chair. He's going to stay on as producer. He's going to stay on, of course, as Bruce Wayne / Batman. And at the time, last week, we said that his script with Jeff Johns was being rewritten by Chris Terrio, who had worked with Affleck on Argo. He's doing some stuff with Justice League, and he was doing a new script, and he was doing a new draft. Nope! Because Warner Bros. Just said, fuck it. We're going to do the whole thing all over again. So this report came out from Forbes, who did a very lengthy report, and it's a pretty good report if you have the time to go read it, saying they heard anything from, quote, major rewrites to a completely new script, including starting from scratch if that's what it takes. So they're basically doing a page one rewrite. What The Flash is doing, which we announced, well, we didn't announce it, but we reported on it. It was like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. I don't know. That's all the fuck ups from the DCEU are starting to blend together. Why is this still happening? Okay, so I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Forbes did go on to say, and this is something that I just want to read because it just takes away. I don't know if it takes away the blow, but at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, no fucking shit. All right, so this is what they said, saying, quote, since the new filmmaker might look at the story and script and decide there's plenty to salvage that appeals to them. Once the director is in place, more will become clear. But for now, Warner Brothers is suffering far more negative perceptions than they need to simply because of the attempt to slow and control their spread of information. The fear this causes and the speculation arising from that fear is far worse than whatever reaction results in from putting the current known information out there for public consumption. Likewise, the more the press and public get the impression they can't trust public statements, and the more the flow of information is slowed and controlled, the more it feeds the perception that that larger problems loom for the DCEU. Again, no fucking shit. Forbes did go on to say that the original script featured multiple villains, one of them of course being Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke, and possibly even Jared Leto's The Joker. And they still also confirmed that Matt Reeves is still the frontrunner to take over the director's chair. Again, nothing is official. Look, I think I'm beyond frustrated and angry and whatever for the DCEU. Warner Brothers, look, I mentioned this last week when we talked about Ben Affleck dropping out. Directors drop out all the time. And I mentioned this other times as well. Directors drop out all the time. It happens. Directors drop out due to scheduling conflicts, creative differences. It happens all the time. It does. Actors drop out all the time. Scripts have to be rewritten sometimes. Sure. Reshoots happen sometimes. Sure. But it is becoming too common in the DC extended universe. And I mentioned this last week. I am not saying this as a Marvel fanboy because I am a comic book fan. I want to see every comic book movie succeed. I want them to be good. I do. But when it comes to Marvel, they have a much more structured, feeling. You don't hear anything bad coming from Marvel. With the exception of Ant-Man and maybe some of the early days for Iron Man, that was it. That's it. They're keeping their flow of information tight. But with the DCEU, it feels like every other day or every other week, we are ending the podcast with guess what's going on with the DCEU, guys? Page 1 rewrite. Director drops out. There's problems at DCEU. You think I want to report that? No, I don't. I really don't. I want to see these characters, and I know a bunch of other people want to see these characters that they care about and they love. Just being on the big screen. We want to see these characters. I can't even talk straight now because that's how frustrated I am. I read this news item, and the first thing that came to mind was fuck. I was talking to a friend, a few friends actually, and I was seeing some of the reaction online as well. That maybe Ben Affleck. What if he drops out? And for me, if that happens, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that you don't hire a guy like Ben Affleck just to appear. Like we mentioned this when we first talked about in podcast. You don't get a guy like Ben Affleck to just star in your group of movies. They were going to do a solo Batman movie. They were going to probably do another one. Now that might not be the case. I think after the Batman comes out, that whatever the reaction is, I think the thing is now that Ben Affleck is only going to star in team up movies because of this major problem that they are doing. Look, studios have problems all the time. A lot of studios like to keep their mouths shut most of the time. They don't let the information be known to the public. Like, oh hey, we're having problems, guys. Look over here. No, they don't do that because they know that's not something they want to do. That statement, that thing that I read earlier from Forbes, that was Forbes. That was them, speculating and talking about, what was going on. And it's true. Warner Brothers doesn't owe us anything. They don't have to release news items. They could have kept, the report that the Flash script needs to be rewritten. They could have kept that to themselves. They didn't need to do that. They did it because they went out, they shot their load. Shot their load. That's not what I wanted to say, but I'm gonna go with it. They did it when they announced every single movie they're doing release date, which is fine. Marvel does it all the time. I'm not gonna be like, they did it all the time. No, Marvel does it too. The thing with Marvel though is that they have structure. The thing with DC and Warner Brothers is that they have way too many cooks in the kitchen. Who is in charge? You get the idea that maybe Jeff Johns is in charge. Sure, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Nope, guess what? It's the Warner Brothers CEO or someone else. It happens, and I know it happens because I see it all the time. But it happens way too much with the DC universe. I mentioned last week we probably don't need a Gotham Sirens movie. We don't. The only reason they're doing it is because Harley Quinn was very popular in Suicide Squad. That's it. It's the only reason they're making that movie. That's it. It's not because it fits into the structure of the universe. No, it's because Margot Robbie became very popular doing Harley Quinn and Suicide Squad. That's the only reason we're getting that movie. That's it. The only reason. And I'm not bashing it. I'm sure it'll be good and whatever. I hope it's good. Anyway, the thing with Batman is that it's a Batman movie. Yes, we get it. It's a Batman movie. Ben Affleck dropped out because he probably was overworked. He had just done Batman v Superman, he had just done Justice League, he had just done Live by Night, and now he's going to do this. He's probably overworked. He's like, no, I can't do it anymore. Fine, that's fine. And you mentioned last week, he probably shouldn't have come out and said like, no, I'm going to do it. Don't worry about it. I'm directing it. Probably shouldn't have said that because it just now we can't trust anyone from that movie, like the Forbes article just said. Can't trust anyone for face value. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It speaks for itself, too. I can just give you headlines of the DCEU, and you'll know exactly what the hell's going on. I don't even have to talk about it anymore because it's so frustrating. And I don't know if I said it last week or I maybe cut it out for timing reasons or flow, whatever. Or maybe I just said it in my head. I just thought it in my head. If something comes out next week about Batman, another problem, I'm gonna fling my laptop against the wall. Obviously, I didn't do it because I'm recording the podcast. But it's so irritating. It's so frustrating to see you have a plethora of great stories from the DC extended universe or from the DC world, and you can't do it. The Lego Batman movie is doing better and is projecting better than your DC extended universe movies. Just make all the DC heroes do a Lego movie of all the DC heroes, and you'll be fine. Apparently, because that's what it takes. It's frustrating. It really is. I'm rambling now because I'm trying. Just I don't even know. I'm done. Let's just move on because it's. I'm sure like I'll think of something later like I could have said that, but it's frustrating. It really is. It's there's no other word for it. It's frustrating. The 2019 release, fine. I can handle that. I mean, it's not like we're gonna get it now. It's not like we're gonna get it next year. That's fine. But the fact that you're rewriting the script again because you had the Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns script, and then they brought in Chris Terrio, and they were like, nope, we're just gonna hand it off. That's it's frustrating. It really is. Let's move on. Let's move on to this week's releases. So this week's releases we have one limited release, one big limited release I should say. That is a United Kingdom. The film follows Prince Karma, played by David Oluwayo, from Botswana, who causes an international stir when he marries a white woman, played by Rosamund Pike, from London in the late 1940s. This is, of course, during apartheid in Africa. And I saw the trailer for it late last year. I think I saw it when I watched Jackie. And it looks like a very dramatic film. It's of course based off a true story, so the trailer is very powerful and the performances look they're going to be very powerful. But again, it's a limited release, so just be aware of that when you go decide if you want to go watch that. So your wide release this week, again, we have 3 wide releases. You probably already know that by now with all the getting they're fighting airtime on TV. 50 Shades Darker. I'm gonna feel just dirty when I read this and probably have to take a shower after this. While Christian, played by Jamie Dornan, wrestles with his inner demons, Anastasia, Dakota Johnson, must confront the anger and envy of the women who came before her. The film also stars Bella Heathcote, Luke Grimes, and Kim Basinger, along, of course, other people as well. I have no interest in 50. I didn't watch the first one. I have no interest in this one. It doesn't look. It's not for me. It doesn't appeal to me. I'm not their demographic. So let's move on to stuff I am a demographic for, like John Wick Chapter 2. The legendary hitman John Wick, played of course by Keanu Reeves, comes out of retirement when a former associate plots to seize control of the International Assassins Guild. Wick must go into the action when a bounty is also placed on top of his head. The film also stars John Leguizamo, Lance Reddick, Bridget Moynihan, Ruby Rose, Common, Ian McShane, and Lawrence Fishburne. It looks so good. I'm actually going to watch this tonight. It's been a while since I've gone to the movies on a Friday, but I'm going to watch this tonight, and I cannot wait for it. I'm giddy. I've been hearing nothing but great things about it. They say it's even better than the first one, so I'm excited for John Wick Chapter 2. I'm looking forward to all those glorious headshots. And the final film coming out this week is, of course, the Lego Batman movie, which has no problems whatsoever. Bruce Wayne, of course, once again voiced by Will Arnett, must not only deal with the criminals of Gotham City, but also the responsibility of raising a boy that he adopted. The voice cast also includes Michael Cera playing Robin, which is actually Dick Grayson, Ralph Fiennes as Alfred Pennyworth, Rosario Dawson as Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, Zach Galifianakis as the Joker, Jenny Slate as Harley Quinn, Mariah Carey as the Mayor of Gotham, and Billy D. Williams as Two-Face, of course, along with other voice cast members as well. This looks awesome. Again, it's been getting nothing but great reviews. It looks funny. It's of course building off the Lego Batman, the Lego movie, where the Lego Batman was a very big highlight for a lot of people. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm actually gonna go see this tomorrow. So I'm completely looking forward to this. Everyone's been saying nothing but great things. So yeah. Alright, so let's move on to this week's box office predictions. We're running a bit long than I expected, because again, all the movie news. So box office predictions. Last week, my picks were Rings, even though I wasn't really sold on it. Rings, Split, A Dog's Purpose, Hidden Figures, and La La Land. Last week's actual box office, I was almost right. Split, Rings, A Dog's Purpose, Hidden Figures, and La La Land. So yeah, I had overestimated the power of Rings, and I mentioned earlier, it wasn't very good. It sucked. Yeah, don't go watch. But this week's box office is going to be very interesting. We got 3 big movies coming out, and I'm pretty sure all of them are going to take the top 3 spots. So, number 1, my picks this week. At number 1 is the Lego Batman movie. At number 2, 50 Shades of Grey. At number 3, John Wick Chapter 2. At number 4, Split. And at number 5, I think Hidden Figures is going to jump over A Dog's Purpose, because I think all the people that saw A Dog's Purpose probably went to go see it already, and they're going to go jump to the Lego Batman movie because it is the bigger family movie of the week. So there it is. The box office may be affected a little bit this week because of the big snowstorm going on over on the East Coast. So for anyone probably even listening, I don't even know if I have listeners in the East Coast, but if there are, just be safe out there, and just don't, I've seen some of the pictures and videos of all of it going over there, so hopefully all you guys are safe and okay. And of course there was this massive tornado earlier in the week too, I think it was down south, right? I think it was down south. It just, anyway, if you've seen the news, you know what I'm talking about. I forgot exactly where it was, but there was a big tornado and it affected a lot of people down there. So I know I don't have listeners probably down there anyway, but still, I hope everyone's safe and hope everyone's sound. If you have people from those areas, hopefully they checked in with you and they're okay. But I think the box office will be affected by that because of the big snowstorm and all the stuff going on. So, but those are my picks. Lego Batman movie at number 1, 50 Shades of Grey at number 2, John Wick Chapter 2 at number 3, Split at number 4, and Hidden Figures at number 5. Thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast. It was a big one. Obviously, we've gone a lot over than we usually do. So it was a packed week this week. I mean, I'm not complaining. If I talk about all the news items, we've been here a lot longer. But and then all my rambling during the Batman story. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's podcast. I know it was a big one. If you missed anything, go down below if you want to go hear back a story again, or check out all the links to all the trailers that came out this week and all the Super Bowl spots that came out last week. Links will be down below in the description/show notes area. Also, a link to the Facebook page at facebook.com/moviepits and the WordPress account where you will be seeing reviews for John Wick Chapter 2 and the Lego Batman movie this weekend. So you guys can go check that out. And yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, if something big pops up, you'll have to see it on the Facebook page, and we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe out there. Have a fun weekend. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!